All right, it's time to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, happyhippo.com. So if you guys haven't checked this out, you got to go to happyhippo.com because they have some of the highest quality kratom products that I've ever come across. And if you guys aren't familiar with what kratom is, it's an herbal substance that has many different uses, everything from a balanced mind to energy. It can help you relax. And my wife and I, over the last couple of weeks, have tried out some of their products. And I have to say, it has improved her sleep specifically. She's very anxious and her mind runs at night, and it has helped her fall asleep and stay asleep. She actually was using one of the powders that comes in a pouch from Happy Hippo and just dropped it into her water, and off she went, and she was just she was very happy. Let me just put it that way. And so myself, during the workday, if you guys didn't know, I have a big boy job. I work in contract management, and I need that balance. I need the energy during the day, and they have something called Hyper Hippo and an energy shot. Those energy shots come in those little tiny bottles. You guys are familiar with it from other brands that use that type of packaging, but there's nothing like this, all right? This energy shot, I take it, easy to take, and within minutes, I feel the effects. There's no massive crash after I take it either, which is a huge deal, right? How many energy drinks have you taken and coffee have you drank throughout the day that just leads to the massive crash? Well, this doesn't, and it's an all-natural herb. And I'm telling you right now, it will help you get through your day. It can help you relax, depending on the type of product you're looking for. Happy Hippo delivers. And guess what? Right now, if you have an order of 200 or more, you can get free next day FedEx shipping. And also their stuff tastes great. So check out happyhippo.com. Support the WWE podcast and Happy Hippo. And do yourself a favor as well, guys. I'm telling you right now, if it can help my wife go to sleep, for somebody as anxious as she is and as somebody that needs as much energy as I do during the day to do this podcast and to do my job during the day. And right now, you can save 15% on your entire order by using promo code WWE15. That's right, WWE15 will get you 15% off of your entire order. And starting August 28th, they are having their largest sale of the year on their Hyper Hippo product, 40% off. So you'll definitely want to check them out then. But anytime you can use WWE15 as your promo code to get 15% off your entire order. Check out happyhippo.com, whether you're trying to relax or whether you need energy or balance during the day. Happyhippo.com.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is the one that everybody wants, me. Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
What's going on, everybody? Guys and girls, welcome back to another edition of the SmackDown Review right here on the WWE Podcast. As always, I am one of the hosts, Michael Ritter. You can find me on Twitter at Michael5Ritter, and also one of the hosts of the Football Function Podcast, available on all of your podcasting platforms, including the one that you're listening to this show on right now. Also available on Patreon if you prefer an ad-free experience, which most of you listeners by now should already know what Patreon is. We offer it here at the WWE Podcast as well. If you do not like the ads, if you're tired of all of the interruptions during your podcast listening, then I would highly suggest going over to Patreon, pay the $1 a month. It's definitely worth it, especially with the WWE Podcast, because with these ones, the episodes are really long most of the time. It's long form audio. Not all of them. You know, Matt can go on pretty long time when he's doing the weekend review, and obviously the mailbag show gets extremely long. So whenever you're listening to a longer form of audio, there's going to be more ads. It's just the nature of the business. You know, you want to monetize your show. It's extremely smart to feature ads in your podcast. So it's not like it's a bad thing, especially if there's a solution for it, a quick, easy solution, which is paying that $1 a month. It gets you all of the episodes ad-free and also access to the Discord server where you're able to communicate with all types of wrestling fans from all different parts of the country and world. To be specific, there's more than just people who live in the United States that are in the Discord chat and that listen to this podcast. There's actually quite a bit of people who come from different countries. You know, they're overseas, and we always love when we get interaction from listeners who don't live in the United States. Nothing against the U.S. listeners, obviously. We love you guys too. But it's just pretty cool to know that your podcast and content that you produce is being consumed by people all over the world. It just makes it a little bit more satisfying of a feeling. So I do want to thank you guys for tuning in here to the SmackDown review. I hope all of you guys had a damn good week, whether it's just your normal work week, Monday through Friday, or if you just so happen to start your week on Friday and you work Friday to Tuesday or something along those lines. Whatever your schedule is, I hope that you had a good week leading up to SmackDown from the last SmackDown, because as you guys know, last SmackDown was not one to be taken lightly. It was a very impactful show. My girlfriend's son, he's only 5 years old, and here lately he has been really taking a pretty strong interest into wrestling. We actually even watched AEW Rampage, a little bit of it, last night after SmackDown, and he was very firm that this was the quote-unquote other wrestling. He's very familiar with WWE, obviously. He's a massive Rey Mysterio fan. Loves John Cena. He also loves Charlotte as well. Charlotte was actually his very first favorite wrestler. But I woke up yesterday morning, Friday, because I'm recording this Saturday morning. I woke up on Friday morning, had to go to work, obviously, and he was already in the living room on the couch watching the SmackDown from last week. He was watching the Rock segment, and he's been saying multiple times, The Rock's on wrestling, because he knows The Rock from Fast and Furious, which is actually crazy for me to think about, but that's how he was introduced to The Rock. So the fact that The Rock is coming to wrestling, it's a completely different perspective for him, because when we watch movies that have The Rock, we're like, oh man, that's The Rock. You know, he's in Rampage or The Scorpion King, Fast and the Furious, The Game Plan, whatever movie he's in, you know, we've always kind of noticed, like, that's a wrestler who just so happens to be a movie star. Now he's probably the most famous movie star out there right now, but there's kids out there who are familiar with him through movies. You know, they don't know that he was a professional wrestler, and if they do, they see, you know, video packages from his most recent run in WWE, whenever he was feuding with John Cena and headlined back-to-back WrestleManias. They really aren't up to speed and very familiar with the early stages of The Rock. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting point of view that he had. And, you know, that just shows, though, that last week, a week later, he was up, wanted to watch it. He was excited. He watched SmackDown last night as well, and he had a damn good time. But he's at that stage where he's just asking so many questions. You know, we're getting through the show, and he's like, who is that? Why did they do that? Are they like, whenever AJ Styles got injured last night, he legitimately thought AJ Styles died. Like, he said, oh, he's dead. Like, that just kind of caught my attention. Like, I didn't expect him to say that he died. But, yeah, that's really what he believes, and clearly AJ Styles didn't return. He got sent off in a stretcher. So we'll see next week what, or when AJ Styles comes back, what he thinks whenever he realizes that he did not die. But it is fun. You know, I haven't really gotten a chance to watch wrestling from a kid's point of view in such a long time, since it was actually my point of view whenever I was a kid. So the fact that I'm kind of sort of getting a chance to relive that experience, and I've been buying him a bunch of wrestlers too. Like, I one day gave him an old wrestling ring that I had whenever I first started doing the SmackDown review. I bought one of those action figure rings, and I obviously had blue ropes on it, had the SmackDown logos all around the aprons or whatever you want to call those on that little toy ring. But I had that just for display only. You know, I just wanted to have it as part of my podcast studio, obviously covering SmackDown. I do favor SmackDown whenever it comes to the two brands. I pay a lot more attention to what's going on SmackDown for obvious reasons. But it's just one of the things that I do have a dog in the fight, so to speak. I used to be pretty unbiased, but now I very much am Team SmackDown. So I wanted to have some SmackDown representation. Obviously, I got a SmackDown shirt. It's the shirt that I'm wearing in my profile picture in the WWEpodcast.com Meet the Hosts section. So you can go ahead and go there and see what all the hosts here look like on the WWE podcast. If you haven't already, go and check out the WWEpodcast.com. Matt put a lot of work into getting that, website up to speed and very much so looking damn good. So definitely go check that out if you haven't already. But anyways, back to the story. I gave him that SmackDown wrestling ring. He didn't have any wrestlers though, so I went ahead and went to Walmart and I just bought him a few. I got him a Drew McIntyre. I got him a Finn Balor. A couple weeks later, I went and got him a 2-pack that had Roman Reigns and John Cena. I went to Atlanta just last week, or 2 weeks ago, I believe it was. It's already starting to kind of blur. But I came back with him two Rey Mysterio action figures, a really old school one, the one where he's in like a dark purple gear, and then a very much up to speed one, or up to date, modern era Rey Mysterio where he has the mohawk mask. That it's just a different style, and we went ahead and got him both because he's such a huge Rey Mysterio fan. I do believe that's what he's going to be for Halloween as well. So just if you are a wrestling fan, always keep in mind, especially if you are a darker complexion or if you're just a little bit shorter, you could easily throw on a Rey Mysterio mask and get some gloves and whatever. Just find an easy way to make a Rey Mysterio costume. Going as wrestlers is always fun. I went as Scott Hall one year. I've gone as Triple H, obviously, because I have the very authentic World Heavyweight Championship from the Ruthless Aggression era. And my hair is long, and it's pretty much the same color as Triple H. I have some facial hair as well, so I'm able to very easily pull off a Triple H Halloween costume. This year, though, I do not believe I'm going wrestling. Just a little bit of a side story here. Back in the spring, whenever James David Frank passed away, who was famously the white and green Power Ranger back in the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, whenever he passed away, I made the decision back then that I was going to be one of those 2 Power Rangers for Halloween, whether it was the White Ranger, whether it was the Green Ranger, just one of them as a sign of respect, number one, paying a little bit of homage to him, but also I was a massive Power Rangers fan growing up, especially, in the 90s. Man, that was one of the most influential things that I watched in that early stage of being a kid. That and Spider-Man, just those 2 right there, the Power Rangers and Spider-Man. Every single one of my birthdays were themed in one of those 2 things. The cartoon underwear that kids wear, I was for sure rocking Power Rangers underwear and Spider-Man underwear just as a kid. That's just, part of being a 5-year-old little boy. You're going to have cartoon characters. And to be honest, why do we ever stop doing that? That's just kind of one of the things that I've noticed over the years is maybe it's starting to come back, more personality type underwear, not just regular boxers or briefs or whatever. Like people can go out and get I've seen advertised all the time. They have wrestling gear underwear. There's some NWO style underwear. There's some Cody Rhodes, American Nightmare underwear out there. There's a lot that you can work with. And I don't ever want to, branch off to talking about underwear too often on this show, but it's just something that, if you're a fan of the old school pictures and stuff on your underwear, then definitely, hit up WWEshop.com. Maybe get yourself a, LA Knight, some LA Knight underwear, or maybe some Judgment Day, something like that. I don't know. That's for you to decide in your personal decisions. But that is a good way to transition here, I guess, into some actual SmackDown news. LA Knight, noticeably not on SmackDown last night, but from what I've heard, he had COVID. He tested positive for COVID right before the show started. So that's clearly why he was not on the show. There was an LA Knight segment that was scrapped. And we really didn't learn until after the show was over. I didn't find out until this morning that it was COVID. I did hear initially that it was medical. It was something health related. So it wasn't hey, we just didn't want this segment because we didn't think it was going to be good. No, obviously. There was people all over the stadium with LA Knight shirts. So they were probably disappointed that they didn't get a chance to see their favorite wrestler. I was disappointed as well. But, I've had COVID twice, so I know how it is. It's been the only thing that's really prevented me, other than going on a trip. Obviously, I was in Atlanta a couple weeks ago, so I didn't get to do the SmackDown review. But other than the time I had COVID, I have not been able to allow myself to miss a SmackDown review. I don't like missing. This is something that I do take a lot of pride in. So I probably, just like LA Knight, and probably for him it's a lot more, I'm sure he did not want to miss SmackDown during the most popular point of his WWE run, possibly his entire career as a whole. This is like when the getting's good. You know, this is what you live for. This is what you bust your ass for, to get in a position like LA Knight is in right now. And I promise it probably took him being sick as hell for him to not want to show up. And then obviously, even if he wasn't feeling sick, the positive test is going to prevent him from showing up because of WWE and their regulations. They're not going to allow their other wrestlers, their other employees, not just, you know, the people that are on screen, but everybody behind the scenes. They didn't want to put anybody else at risk for contacting that virus. So definitely a smart decision on their behalf. But as someone who's dealt with COVID twice, it's not fun, especially at the very beginning stages. You do feel like you are gonna die. Like, not everybody has gotten those, that same experience. Not everybody has, I guess, gotten the bad end of COVID. There's some people who literally don't even know they have it, but they test positive. They're like, wait, what? I have COVID? Like, I don't even feel different at all. Like, for me, once my taste was gone, I knew. I was like, oh man, something is up. What the hell? And sure enough, tested positive. So shout out to LA Knight. Hopefully it's just something very, very quick. Obviously, we're in 2023 now, so I do feel like we have evolved in this whole COVID protocol and how we handle it once somebody does test positive. I'm sure it's just going to be a small bump in the road. He'll be back. And, you know, the fact that everybody loves seeing him every single week, I can only expect that after not seeing him for like a week, maybe two, it's only going to make the pop even bigger for LA Knight. So definitely get well soon, and we will see you once you show back up on SmackDown. But speaking of SmackDown, let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? We're going to talk about the SmackDown that aired on September 22nd, 2023 from Phoenix, Arizona. Shout out to DJ Kuzmo for the location breakdown per usual. And this show started with John Cena. He comes out and opens the show, and he talks about how excited he is to be back in the WWE. And then he goes on to mention everything that he's done since he's been back, as well as all the places and events that he's been to. The list of things that he's done in a short period of time back include being a host. We saw him do that. Being a backstage correspondent. We saw him do that, where he, pulled his shorts up way up over his knee pads. He had like the bow tie on. Some people don't really like that. Some people enjoy that type of comedic John Cena. To be honest, I don't necessarily have a massive opinion on it. I just am glad to see him on my TV. So anytime I get a chance to see John Cena, I know that, it's one less. Say that he has 50 more appearances in WWE. Every time he shows up on the screen, just know that number ticks down one more time. So it's one less time that you're going to get to see him. So I am always somebody who likes to appreciate seeing somebody like John Cena show back up on my television screen. But not only has he been a backstage correspondent, he's also been a special guest referee multiple times. But what he really wants to do since he came back to WWE is compete. And it just so happens that he has a beef with the Bloodline that he would actually like to address. And luckily, he doesn't have to do it alone, or at least he's not supposed to do it alone. He'll be joined by none other than the phenomenal AJ Styles, who then comes out to have a word with John Cena and the crowd there in the middle of the ring. Out comes Solo and Jimmy soon after that, though. They don't get inside the ring. They just go stand on the apron and hold on to the ropes. And they don't say a word. They really just stare at John Cena and AJ Styles. They kind of have some weird looks on their faces. And they eventually leave. And then right after that, we get Cena and AJ Styles backstage trying to get Adam Pearce to make a tag team match official between these two teams. And my initial thoughts, my quick thoughts about this are, number one, hell yes. John Cena and AJ Styles teaming up. This is something that we really haven't done a whole lot. So yes, sign me up for that. I'm perfectly fine with them going on a little bit of a two baby faces that are trying to stick it to a collective enemy, like a mutual enemy that they both have. Let's put our forces together and let's go at these guys, because we're both two first ballot Hall of Famers. Like, it doesn't get better than John Cena and AJ Styles, for crying out loud. So I'm all for that aspect of it. Number two, it's just a new wrinkle in the whole Bloodline part of this. Solo Sikoa is almost you don't want to say he's the tribal chief. That's not what I'm saying. But whenever Roman Reigns is gone, Solo's pretty much answering, or Paul Heyman is pretty much answering to Solo. And Jimmy's just there. He's just that guy who just so happens to be there. And we really don't know what his role is with the Bloodline, what his status with the Bloodline is. It has very Evolution 2004 vibes where it's like, yes, they're in the group, but you can almost sense like a little bit of betrayal that's going to come, where you know that eventually they're going to get what they want out of you in terms of like using you. You're going to be useless to them, and they're going to turn on you. And I'm just waiting for that Samoan spike that Solo gives to Jimmy Uso, because this whole thing really has been confusing since the very beginning when Jimmy came back and turned on Jay, because Jimmy's the one that super kicked Roman Reigns, and it was just, there hasn't really been a whole lot of logic behind the Jimmy Uso part of all this. So I am...
All right, it's time to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, happyhippo.com. So if you guys haven't checked this out, you got to go to happyhippo.com, because they have some of the highest quality kratom products that I've ever come across. And if you guys aren't familiar with what kratom is, it's an herbal substance that has many different uses, everything from a balanced mind to energy. It can help you relax. And my wife and I, over the last couple of weeks, have tried out some of their products, and I have to say it has improved her sleep specifically. She's very anxious and her mind runs at night, and it has helped her fall asleep and stay asleep. She actually was using one of the powders that comes in a pouch from Happy Hippo, and just dropped it into her water, and off she went, and she was just she was very happy. Let me just put it that way. And so myself, during the workday, if you guys didn't know, I have a big boy job. I work in contract management, and I need that balance. I need the energy during the day, and they have something called Hyper Hippo and an energy shot. And those energy shots come in those little tiny bottles. You guys are familiar with it from other brands that use that type of packaging, but there's nothing like this. All right. This energy shot, I take it, easy to take, and within minutes, I feel the effects. There's no massive crash after I take it either, which is a huge deal, right? How many energy drinks have you taken and coffee have you drank throughout the day that just leads to the massive crash? Well, this doesn't. And it's an all natural herb. And I'm telling you right now, it will help you get through your day. It can help you relax, depending on the type of product you're looking for. Happy Hippo delivers. And guess what? Right now, if you have an order of 200 or more, you can get free next day FedEx shipping. And also their stuff tastes great. So check out happyhippo.com. Support the WWE podcast and Happy Hippo. And do yourself a favor as well, guys. I'm telling you right now, if it can help my wife go to sleep, for somebody as anxious as she is, and as somebody that needs as much energy as I do during the day to do this podcast and to do my job during the day. And right now, you can save 15% on your entire order by using promo code WWE15. That's right, WWE15 will get you 15% off of your entire order. And starting August 28th, they are having their largest sale of the year on their Hyper Hippo product, 40% off. So you'll definitely want to check them out then. But anytime you can use WWE15 as your promo code to get 15% off your entire order. Check out happyhippo.com, whether you're trying to relax or whether you need energy or balance during the day. Happyhippo.com.
Hoping that, this kind of explains a little bit in the coming weeks without Roman Reigns. I did see that he was booked for a SmackDown in late October, so he is going to have a little bit of time off still. So Jimmy and Solo are going to have to carry this storyline. And likely we're going to get a little bit more explanation as to where exactly Jimmy stands in this whole situation. But continuing on in the show, up next, we get Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar representing LWO tagging against the Street Profits. And both of these teams have somebody out there to support them. Lashley is supporting the Street Profits, and Zelina Vega is out there at ringside, obviously, for the LWO. And we do get a pretty good back and forth here in this match, despite Rey Mysterio and Santos not being a official tag team. They're in the same faction, but they're not the tag team in that group. So the fact that they were working so well together just tells you Both of those guys are pretty damn talented, and they do have some chemistry together. But the back and forth does come to a stop once Lashley gets involved. He gives Rey Mysterio a little bit of a cheap shot on the outside of the ring. Well, Rey Mysterio is still in the ring, kind of rolls underneath the ropes. Lashley's standing right there and just kind of picks him up and gives him like a miniature choke slam. I don't know. It's something that only Lashley can do because he's, strong as hell, can just pick up a grown man and slam him right there on the canvas. But that does leave Rey Mysterio laying lifelessly for Angelo Dawkins to clean up. But for some reason, Dawkins hesitates. He's not really sure, I guess, what he's supposed to do with that. He's not used to having somebody cheat on the outside of the ring and help him win. You could just tell the look on his face was kind of weird, but that slight hesitation gives Rey Mysterio enough time to muster up a reversal into a small package to steal the win for him and Santos Escobar. And obviously, later on in the show, I'm not sure if I wrote this down in my notes, so I want to go ahead and talk about it here while it's fresh on my mind. Lashley gave them an earful. He chewed their ass out later on in the show for this. He wants the jewelry back, he wants the suits back, because he doesn't think they're capable of, taking that next step, and he's going to go find someone who will. I don't think this is them breaking up. I just think this is what they needed to take that next step. Now, they're going to get an opportunity in the coming weeks to really show they have that killer instinct. There's going to be a moment come up where something similar to this happens, and Angelo Dawkins is going to be able to pull the trigger and really put their opponent away. And I think that's going to be telling, because they're going to, look back at this as a moment where Lashley he lit the fire underneath them and allowed them to really let go of the team they once were and embrace the team that they are now. Let's see, Isla Dawn and Alba Fire get a little video package where they tease that they cursed the women's tag team championships. I'm clearly paraphrasing. They said a lot more than that. I didn't write down word for word exactly what they said, but if you're a fan of this team and somebody actually acknowledging that the women's tag team championships aren't necessarily the most sought after belt for multiple reasons, they kind of, hit it right on the head. They say, we curse those belts, whatever. They make it seem like it's some type of hocus pocus type curse, though. So you could form your own opinion on that, though. I did appreciate them acknowledging it, though. A little bit earlier in the show, after I believe it was LWO and Street Profits match, we saw Austin Theory kind of pop up behind the commentary team. He kind of caught him off guard a little bit. It was immediately after they showed the video package of what happened last week with The Rock. So this leads us to what happens now backstage, where Theory is getting his ass chewed out by Adam Pearce for basically trying to hijack the show. He says that's not okay. You're not going to do that here on SmackDown. We can see off to the side the Brawling Brutes are there, kind of just poking fun, laughing at him. They are referencing what The Rock did to him last week. And then Grayson Waller approaches to offer a little bit of support, which does lead to a tag team match announced between those two teams a little bit later on in the night. Before that happens, however, we get an Asuka versus Io Sky match for the WWE Women's Championship. And this one should have been a lot more advertised than what it was. Like this match had potential to be on a pay-per-view. I don't know why they gave it to us for free on a Friday Night SmackDown, just given the history between these two. Like, just think about it as if you, here in the United States, had a tag team partner. You were a wrestler, and you were tagging with somebody here in the U.S. And then about, 8 or 9 years later, you fast forward, you're in Japan, and you're wrestling one-on-one that former tag team partner. When you're in a country that's surrounded by people who aren't from where you're from, you're not at home, you're across the freaking world, but the only thing that might feel like home, I guess, is the person that you're wrestling right then. Like, it's a weird feeling that I got whenever I tried to put myself in their position. They're clearly used to it. They're professionals. They've done this time and time again, but this was their first official match in WWE, and I felt like it should have been more of a big deal. That's just my opinion. I do like both of these women. I feel like they're phenomenal wrestlers. But I have to say one thing about Io Sky, and I do not believe this is an exaggeration. I think that it's actually pretty spot on, but somebody can obviously prove me wrong or tell me what your opinion is on this if you disagree. I think Io Sky is the best high flyer of all time when you're talking about women. There's been some other pretty good ones. Lita obviously was pretty talented at going to the top rope, but she was very unsafe. She got injured several times. She was nowhere near as polished and as smooth as Io Sky is. There's a reason she's called the Genius of the Sky. She's a phenomenal wrestler, especially when you talk about her high-flying ability. We saw what she did at War Games. There's been a lot of other times that Sky has just put it on display that she is one of the best whenever you're talking about just that air assault. So I do want to give her her flowers in this moment. Damage control's at ringside, obviously, but it hasn't always worked out in Io's favor whenever they're at ringside. Sometimes Bayley specifically likes to do a little bit too much, which sometimes can bite Io in the rear and cost her a match. Hopefully it didn't happen in this one. But Charlotte comes out as well, which I thought was kind of strange. Charlotte comes out possibly just to even the odds a little bit, although it really didn't matter. But she was just pretty much getting an up-close and personal look, which, is it just because it's a championship match that she feels the need that she has to be out there? It's almost like Charlotte legitimately feels like somebody else is just holding her title. Like, I seriously think that's what she feels like. People say that in their promos all the time. You're holding what's mine. That championship around your waist should be mine, blah, blah, blah. We've heard that be referenced in programs all the time. But I really think that Charlotte feels that way. I think she feels like Io Sky is holding her championship, and it's not with its rightful owner, but soon enough it will be. I truly think that's Charlotte's perspective. But for the most part, Charlotte and Damage Control, they let these two women go at it. They let them have their moment. Really no involvement up until the very end when Bayley moved the rope whenever Asuka had Io in the Asuka lock. Bayley moves the rope just slightly closer to Io so she could get a rope break, which did trigger Charlotte to get involved. She stands up and goes and takes a shot at Bayley, which I thought was a pretty babyface move of Charlotte to do. I guess Charlotte's a babyface now. This could have been well established, and I'm just kind of behind or living under a rock or something like that. But she's so back and forth. She's so blur the line whenever you're talking about like their promo that you don't feel like she's a babyface or a heel. She's just Charlotte. Like, she legitimately can flip the switch at any time. She could play both very well. But at this point in particular, it did feel like this was a babyface move for her to go up there and retaliate to help Asuka, but it really wasn't enough to prevent Io from successfully defending her championship. And obviously, she retains. Up next, we get the tag team match, Austin Theory and Grayson Waller versus the Brawling Brutes. Not a very long one at all. Ridge Holland actually had Austin Theory in the Boston Crab about to tap out, but Waller hit a rolling stunner, and Theory got a chance to clean it up by pinning Ridge Holland. So A-Town Down Under is their new tag team name, I guess. What we heard the announce team reference them as. A-Town Down Under successfully get the win, and they go to 2-0 as a tag team. Definitely some potential there. I would not mind seeing them team up a little bit more often. I do feel like this could be, in terms of heel groups, this could be one of the better heel tag teams that we've seen in a very, very long time. They highlight some things that are going to be happening next week here during the show. We get Santos versus Rey Mysterio for the United States Championship. We get Charlotte versus Bayley. This match obviously stemmed from what we just talked about in the Women's Championship match with Io Sky and Asuka. And then Lashley is going to be a guest on the Grayson Waller effect. So like I said, we're going to get that opportunity. We're going to hear more about it. I think this is a perfect opportunity for this program, this character switch, for the Street Profits to really take a pretty big step forward. And I think tonight, getting that ass chewing in the locker room was really exactly what they needed. But up next for the main event here on the show, it's supposed to be the contract signing for AJ Styles and John Cena going up against Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso at the pay-per-view coming up Fastlane. This is when this tag team match is supposed to take place. John Cena comes out. As we're waiting for AJ Styles to come out, his music hits and everything, we see him getting attacked backstage. This is what I was talking about earlier. Remember, my girlfriend's son thought that AJ Styles was killed, literally. We see AJ Styles getting attacked backstage from Jimmy. He's beating the hell out of him. He throws him on a table, and the camera pans up to a Solo Sikoa standing probably 15 feet above wherever AJ Styles was. He does his little scream that he always does, and then bam, splash, 15 feet down, right onto AJ Styles. And as you would expect, he had to be stretchered out in the ambulance. We see Michin and Carl Anderson standing there. And it was pretty funny, actually, just what Carl Anderson said. I know it wasn't supposed to be funny. It wasn't meant to be a funny moment, but he says, John, I told him not to be getting involved in this Bloodline stuff, man. And he just gets in the ambulance. And for some reason, I just thought that was kind of funny, but it leaves John Cena standing there, the person who's supposed to be his tag team partner. And he's just watching him get rolled away, to the nearest medical facility. So obviously that's a little bit of a damn, this was supposed to be this dream tag team that we were going to have. And now all of a sudden, one half of that dream tag team is not going to be able to compete for the near future. So that does kind of suck. However, we get Heyman coming to the ring alongside Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. Paul announces that the contract for Fastlane has John Cena's signature, but not a tag team partner's signature. And as he's continuing to talk, Jimmy Uso actually steals the mic from Paul. And he warns that John Cena should just get in the ambulance with AJ Styles and leave right now. That's the best advice that he could give him so he doesn't end up getting hurt as well. But that's not going to stop John Cena. This is John freaking Cena we're talking about. He's dealt with so many villains, so many bad guys over the years. You think he's scared of Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa? No, sir. Obviously, John Cena runs out to the ring. He fights as hard as he possibly can. He gets a few good shots on both guys, but eventually the 2-on-1 was just too much. He gets beat down pretty good, and then both Bloodline members sign the contract, lay it on him, on his chest, and then position him right in the center of the ring so Jimmy can hit another Uso splash off the top rope, and that is how SmackDown goes off the air. Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa send a statement. They send a message to John Cena and the old WWE lingo. They definitely, not only to John Cena, but to AJ Styles as well. The OC, everybody. I don't know who is going to stop this group. And there are only two of them there. It's Solo and Jimmy, and they're pretty much wreaking havoc all over everybody. Where's the Judgment Day when you need them, right? But that does do it for us here on the SmackDown review, guys. I feel like this is a little bit more comfortable. I do want to get the shows out a little bit earlier in the day, but I do feel like for the time being, we're going to continue the post-SmackDown review. You guys, for those of you that have been listening for a while now, for the past few months, we were doing live reviews, and I do feel like, I don't want to say that it dropped the quality of the show, but we weren't bringing our fastball for multiple reasons. And a lot of it has to do with just the different approach to covering a live show. Having a match go on while you're trying to talk about the match that just happened, it's not as beneficial as being able to watch the show, take your notes, and then sit down as SmackDown is painted as a whole picture and then break it down. So I do feel a little bit more natural doing this. It's what I started out doing here on the show. So I do appreciate you guys for sticking around, for listening to this SmackDown review. If you are this far in the episode and you made it all the way through, you are what I like to call a good person. But in all seriousness, guys, thank you so much. I hope you all have a damn good rest of your weekend. Enjoy whatever activities you're doing. Walk passionately in the direction of your dreams. And I'll talk to you soon.
All right, it's time to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, happyhippo.com. So if you guys haven't checked this out, you got to go to happyhippo.com because they have some of the highest quality kratom products that I've ever come across. And if you guys aren't familiar with what kratom is, it's an herbal substance that has many different uses, everything from a balanced mind to energy. It can help you relax. And my wife and I, over the last couple of weeks, have tried out some of their products. And I have to say, it has improved her sleep specifically. She's very anxious and her mind runs at night, and it has helped her fall asleep and stay asleep. She actually was using one of the powders that comes in a pouch from Happy Hippo and just dropped it into her water, and off she went, and she was just she was very happy. Let me just put it that way. And so myself, during the workday, if you guys didn't know, I have a big boy job. I work in contract management, and I need that balance. I need the energy during the day, and they have something called Hyper Hippo and an energy shot. And those energy shots come in those little tiny bottles. You guys are familiar with it from other brands that use that type of packaging, but there's nothing like this. All right. This energy shot, I take it easy to take, and within minutes, I feel the effects. There's no massive crash after I take it either, which is a huge deal, right? How many energy drinks have you taken and coffee have you drank throughout the day that just leads to the massive crash? Well, this doesn't, and it's an all-natural herb. And I'm telling you right now, it will help you get through your day. It can help you relax, depending on the type of product you're looking for. Happy Hippo delivers. And guess what? Right now, if you have an order of 200 or more, you can get free next day FedEx shipping. And also their stuff tastes great. So check out happyhippo.com. Support the WWE podcast and Happy Hippo. And do yourself a favor as well, guys. I'm telling you right now, if it can help my wife go to sleep, for somebody as anxious as she is and as somebody that needs as much energy as I do during the day to do this podcast and to do my job during the day. And right now, you can save 15% on your entire order by using promo code WWE15. That's right, WWE15 will get you 15% off of your entire order. And starting August 28th, they are having their largest sale of the year on their Hyper Hippo product, 40% off. So you'll definitely want to check them out then. But anytime you can use WWE15 as your promo code to get 15% off your entire order. Check out happyhippo.com, whether you're trying to relax or whether you need energy or balance during the day. Happyhippo.com.
Thanks for listening to the WWE podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.